This is Damien. Wanted to do a video today on some of the progression of Flint. Flint working, Flint napping technology, kind of as I see it. Not necessarily the way it's written in the book. Definitely not the way it's written in the book, but I've been meaning to do a video on this stuff, at least for turkey. But I kind of thought before I did that, it'd be important to kind of show how old I think this stuff is. And what I found is a lot of stuff like this. And this. Of course, the wife found that one. As I say, the faces, that's throughout all this progression, the one thing you're going to always notice is the faces. They never did stop doing that. But my wife found this, what I think's a point out there. You see, that's quite a bit different than, you're not going to find that in the Overstreet. But that's a point, man. I don't think there's a whole lot of denying it. But there's a point. And to kind of try to figure how old this stuff is, I wanted to kind of show how I think the technology went here, which is actually not that much different than the rest of the world. It's just they kind of leave out the first part of it, science here in America. So this is your oldest stuff here, in my opinion. Yeah, it's got really heavy patina on it. Just random shapes, but you can tell they're tools. They're not napped. They just kind of just knocked off some flakes, made something sharp, and may have even ground and polished them. I don't know, maybe, or it's just that much patina on it, but this stuff's old. I mean, it's really old. And they're artifacts. They all got the faces. You can look close enough, you'll see the tool marks. Most of this stuff people will say, there's natural rocks. No, it's not, man. Yeah, this stuff's worked too. It's just worked a different way that you haven't been told about. So I think this kind of stuff's like the oldest kind of stuff. And going through these kind of blades and scrapers and stuff like that, this is the kind of old stuff. It's not debitage. There's too big a piece. You might say cash blade, whatever. That's kind of what they call for a guy. A perfect example of a cash blade, I guess, would be something like this. Where a guy just worked a piece down to use it as a tool, maybe make a point out of it later. That kind of thing. I got a bunch of that stuff, but this stuff's different. It's this kind of stuff right here matches the oldest lithic technology in the world, which would be, in Africa and Europe, what they call CCC, chopper tools, that kind of stuff. You see that one? That's like probably one of the oldest artifacts I got. That face on it, I love this thing because it kind of looks like my dad. But this looks exactly like the kind of stuff our friends in Europe show us that came from lower Paleolithic. There, this stuff's really old, really heavy patina. But anyway, I think this stuff here is the oldest stuff. Like, stuff like that. And, a lot of it depends on material, the way they worked it, but napping as we know it certainly was not the only way they knew how to work this stuff. I mean, there's too much evidence to say they were doing other things. And it looks just like everything everywhere else in the world, you know. Anywhere else in the world, a lot of this stuff is hominid tools. You take that to Europe, they tell you got an Acheulean tool right there, especially this one. That looks about as Acheulean as anything you're ever going to see. And that's Kentucky right there. It came from Kentucky. But, like I say, you know, I think they were doing a lot of things like that. So it's got that socket in there to, you know, I've got a lot of pieces like that. It's either socketed or it'll have kind of like a Clovis point. They'll be somewhat fluted, not fluted like a Clovis, but you know, they're fluted to a degree, or they got the socket. See that socket? See that? Pretty simple stuff. But let's say old, man. This stuff is old. The probably thrusting spears, you know. Just handheld. Stick them in the side. They're hunting big, slow animals. You know, they didn't need to throw their spears. But then I think kind of what you move into a lot is these are probably just as old, where they just knock the side of a rock off. I mean, that's what some really early hominids were doing. And I'm not saying that somebody wasn't doing it 500 years ago, but just saying it was pretty outdated technology at that point. But then you start seeing points kind of start taking form and chipping and stuff, getting a little different, a little more like napping. You see that flute in that? Like I say, faces. You know, every time. This one's an agate, so it's kind of worked a little different, but it has the same shape, fossil inclusion, same kind of stuff. Right there, same deal, fluted, just got a broke tip. That should have been up there with the older stuff, but same thing, you know, you're just taking big flakes off. And like I say, you can see the patina, you see the faces, but like I say, knocking the side of rocks off of a round rock, just making a point of it. Now this one, I found that in the Ohio River. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, but it's, you know, once this stuff, after so long, in the knocking the side of rocks off of a round rock, just making a point of it. Now this one, I found that in the Ohio River. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, but it's, you know, once this stuff, after so long, in the water or in the ground, a rock will actually grow a new cortex over it. And that's what you're kind of seeing right there. I didn't just make that up. I heard that from a few professionals. But like I say, you're getting into the same thing, but the kind of work on them is still not what we would call napping. And I understand that's a stemmed piece, and I'm not going to be one to say that they only did this in this period, you know, like, so I don't know what they did, but I'm saying the differences I notice. Big flakes knocked off, heavy patina, possibly polished, you know, and the same shape. They're, you know, these are all roughly the same shape. Probably hafted with some kind of adhesive. And, you know, then I'll just run through the rest of them. And it's all the same stuff, you know. There's another one that has got that new Cortex run over, but you can see underneath that it's got tool marks underneath that. It takes a really long time for that process to happen. You can read about it. But a lot of this stuff, I don't know where to put it in the timeline. But a lot of people will tell you that that's like a paleo blade. I don't know. I don't know, but like I say, the faces, it holds true, man. They're always, the faces are going to be there. I'll hear guys say, well, I've been hunting artifacts for blah blah years. Well, dude, if you didn't notice the faces by now, you know, they're on there, man. Just go look at your own stuff. Don't look at mine. But like here, you start getting into archaic. This is a broken archaic point. It's been reworked into some kind of hafted tool. But like I say again, face still. Don't really know the date on this. It looks a little different though, because it's that breathed chert. It's really hard chert, and I think these are paleo. You know, a lot of times these pieces here be uniface, and sometimes they're not. I mean, sometimes it works on both sides, but that may be broken, but I don't know. But I'm only calling this, like, I think that's a mammoth effigy is what I think. But you know, I could be wrong. Like I say, you still got the kind of fluting in there, some kind of blade in my opinion. But moving on, still archaic, you know. Start getting into late archaic, early woodland, and then you get down to the more modern stuff. You know, you see some Fort Ancient in there. See that? All the way down to the arrow points. But some of this stuff just don't fit in the timeline. And kind of stuff I'm talking about, I found over 60 of these. That's a rock, but I think they're a point. I don't know. Well, who knows what it is? All I know is I got too many of them for it not to be something. Like I say, over 60 of them now. Other people at the other artifacts group there, a lot of people posted these too. And like this stuff, okay? So you don't really see a lot of tool marks on it, but they kind of have the shape of woodland or Mississippian stuff. But they look more like that looks like an African Neolithic point. I found that in Shelbyville, Kentucky. You tell me. And so does that. This has got the patina of the old stuff, and coincidentally, like maybe a foot away from this one, I found, you might have seen it on some of my videos before, but this right here, this is maybe my finest piece. I don't know. Yeah, I like it. See that face, that face. Check this out. See that groove in the back? See, I think this is a blade. I think it's a hafted blade. I think that's what that groove was for, to kind of help hold it in the wood. And because the tip, see, it's not a point. I really don't think it's a point, but it's got a serious patina on it. And I'm not even saying it's from the same period. I'm just saying I found them two the same day, maybe no more than 2 feet away from each other. But anyway, going back to these scrapers and stuff and cash blades, what have you. This stuff here, you know, it's kind of just like the rest of the world. It shows the progression of technology. I see that, how they use that fossil as the eye, you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff. A lot of this stuff that guys are saying they weren't doing, they were. You can even find a lot of this stuff where they've, I have it out here somewhere, where they use a natural hole, utilize a natural hole, just like the rocks. But anyway, just want to kind of go over it, at least my opinion of it, of how you go from tools like that look like, if I was in Africa, it'd be a 2 million year old artifact, to 500-600 year old artifact. You know, it's pretty clear that the same things happened here in America happen everywhere else in the world. But like I say, stuff like this, where does that fit into the equation? If you got any thoughts on it, any idea, how would you think this stuff might be? I think this is a really old site. This stuff came off. You got any ideas? Hit me up in the comments. Kind of let me know. Tell me how would you think this stuff is. Tell, if you know that I'm wrong about something, throw it out there. I'll hear about it. 'Cause I'm not claiming to be an expert of anything. I'm just saying, telling you what I see. Same stuff, repetitive, over and over. Non-coincidental. I don't care, really. I'm willing to entertain any ideas except natural, geofact, any of that shit. You can keep that to yourself. But if you got real answers, I'd like to hear them. Thank you.